Chapter 3, Section 6. Compound inequalities. Yes. Yesterday we talked about graphing them, right? Alright, today we'll talk about solving them and then we'll review graphing them because we ran out of time. So I'm going to do problem 2 on page 217 again. You got -3 less than or equal to. You got m minus 4 and that's less than -1. I don't know if I got to this one yesterday. Alright, when the variable's in the middle, look, you add 4 to the middle. If you add 4 to the middle, you got to add 4 to the right and to the left. Okay? You're treating these inequalities like equal signs. So whatever you do to the middle, you got to do to the right side and to the left side. And -3 plus 4 is 1 less than or equal to m, which is less than 3. Okay? Okay. Pay attention then. Now, when the variable is in the middle, when you graph these, draw your graph right underneath your solution. See how the smaller number's on the left? Just make that a 1 and make this a 3. On the 3, we're open. Agreed? On the 1, it's closed. Variables in the middle, shade in the middle. That's where all your solutions lie. That's almost always going to happen when there's an or in your answer. If the variable's in the middle, it almost always ends up getting shaded in the middle. -2 less than 3y minus 4, which is less than 14. You're trying to get the y by itself in the middle, so you add 4 everywhere.
Could you add 2?
No, it's just going to be a mess. You're trying to get the y by itself in the middle. So you get 2 less than 3y, which is less than 18. You divide everything by 3. Okay? So 2/3 is less than y, which is less than 6. And when you graph that, number line, put your 2/3 on it, put your 6 on it. Open or close on the 2/3. Open or close on the 6. So look, this says that, and if you break this down into 2 graphs, if you look at this portion of it first, y is less than 6. Remember we said earlier that if the variable's on the left, that you shade the direction of the arrow. So we're shading left. Agreed? Now, look at this portion of it. 2/3 is less than y. Now the variable's on the right, isn't it? And you shade opposite the direction of the arrow. So that would tell you to shade to the right. Okay? So there's where your solutions are. Your solutions don't include 6 and they don't include 2/3. Okay? Now let's see if they don't. Yeah.
what if they're like both pointing away from
Both pointing what?
what the open center is, what if they're like both the lines in the middle, so that kind of there type coming close to or away.
This one? Well, then you got an issue. It's probably not going to happen though. Watch. But here's what will happen. Let's say you get 12 is less than or equal to negative 2y plus 2, which is less than 10. Watch, you're going to subtract 2, aren't you? (12 minus 2), you get 10 less than or equal to negative 2y, which is less than 8. Now you got to divide by negative 2, don't you? Now, when you're dealing with inequalities and you divide, multiply, or divide by a negative, what's got to happen to your inequalities? They got to switch. So over here you get negative 5. You got to change this one. Y is in the middle. You got to change that one. And this is, what's that, negative 4? Shoot, it's going to wind up working out. So let's graph it. These numbers are still in order, aren't they? The smaller one's all the way to the left. So you can put your negative 5 there, and you can put your negative 4 here. Open or close on the 5? Closed on the 5. Open or close on the 4? Now, yeah, I think you got to be careful here. If you break this apart, which way do you got to shade here? This has, look, the variable's on the left. Arrow's pointing to the right. You got to shade to the right. Okay? This other one. Now the variable's on the right, isn't it? Variable's on the right. You got to shade opposite. So you got to shade this way. Alright, so that's a case where the variable's in the middle, but you got to shade opposite directions, don't you? And that happens when you've got, a lot of times it happens when you got to divide by negative, because you had to change the directions of the arrows. Okay, so be careful when it gets to the graphing part. Clear? Alright, the other type of inequality you're going to see today is like problem 4 on 219. Where it says 3t plus 2 is less than negative 7, or negative 4t plus 5 less than 1. If it's an or statement inequality, you just have to solve them both. Okay? You solve them both. So you subtract 2 from each side over here. 3t is less than negative 9. Divide by 3. T is less than negative 3. Or, bring down your or. Subtract 5. Negative 4t is less than negative 4. Divide by negative 4. T is greater than 1. When you put both of these on the same graph, you got your negative 3 and you got your positive 1. On the negative 3, you're open, and we're going to the left. On the 1, you're open and going to the right. So if there's an or, you just solve both problems, put your solutions on one graphic. Clear? Questions? Any questions? All right, page 220. Ten through 27. Yeah. Turn that light back on, please.